Hey everyone, it's me, Chris from Body Nova Fitness Coaching. And I wanted to talk to you guys today about something I know not a lot of people use, or some people don't even understand that that's what they're doing, but it's called periodization. And to give you a little insight into periodization, um, originally when the Russians had used it quite a while ago, I'm thinking somewhere in the 1930s, but it might be, I'd have to double check that if you guys care. All right. So what this Russian scientist found is like you can't maximize strength, endurance, power, speed, you know, if somebody's overweight, getting them, you can't maximize all of these different qualities of strength um, at once. Okay, unless you're a beginner. Like if you're first starting out, you can get it, you can receive all those benefits. But once you get a little bit of experience under your belt, you have to train specifically for what you want. So what these Russian scientists would do is they would say, hey, we want this athlete to be the best that they can for the Olympics. So they would work on the certain things, that whatever they needed to work on, and they would set up their periodization plan in order to help that athlete be the best when he needed to be. Now, what people will say is, well, I'm not as like, yes, you are. You're doing athletic things, but your sport is physique sports, okay, for the most part, okay? So you guys want to look as good as you possibly can when you want to, okay? So that might be, hey, I'm going to take a break in the winter. It's cold. I'm going to be wearing a bunch of clothes and nobody's going to be able to see my body anyway. Um, Thanksgiving's coming, Christmas is coming, New Year's Eve, whatever, okay? And so you might change how you approach your complete goals to cater for that versus now it's spring and summer is coming and I'm going to be wearing less clothes because it's 80, 90, 100 degrees outside and people are going to be able to see me and I can't hide with these heavy hot clothes anymore. So your goal is different. Your goal is looking good. So let's say it's a physique goal or so you want to be able to arrange all your training your training so you can transform your bodies, your fitness, your bodies or whatever in order to get the look that you want to get. So that's kind of like why, for periodization. But then there's other ways, other reasons why you should use your periodization because, okay, like let's just take building muscle. Men building muscle will usually what they call muscular tension. Okay, so they'll lift heavy weights. They might achieve a big stretch. Rest periods may be long or short. Which is another reason to change them. Women will usually have shorter rest periods. What I'm seeing, they're using very, very light weights, like a body pump class, for example. Gosh, yeah, and they're running around. They're running around the whole time doing very low intensity work, but using short rest because eventually that short rest will make muscle fibers fatigue. You'll build up a lot of lactic acid and hydrogen ions, so your muscles can't contract optimally. So those muscles can't contract, so your body will recruit other muscle fibers to do the task, and eventually they'll get deep. But the one thing if you're a personal trainer who's knowledgeable about exercise, even some recreational lifters, exercise scientists, there's a principle of exercise science that's called the principle of adaptability. So what that's saying is whatever style of training you use, your body's going to eventually adapt to it. So, one of the reasons why you can use periodization is you can give your body a break from a certain type of training, but change the training in a different way, but in a way that still helps you make progress towards your goal. Okay. Sometimes, you could build your ability to work. So a lot of the times I'll put strength phases for people in that are trying to lose body fat, you know, because at the end of the day, your ability to burn calories, which helps create your calorie deficit, which fuels your ability to lose weight, it's your ability to do work. So if I lift 100 pounds 20 times, you know, I'm going to burn a certain amount of calories. But what if now I'm lifting 200 pounds for that same 20 reps? I'm going to burn much more calories. Okay, so I'm improving my ability to do work, which would fuel, you know, all those other things I just mentioned earlier. Okay, some people have, sometimes you do things to take a break. Like I give the example of a lady who DM'd me, and she talked about, you know, having 29% body fat, weighing 150 pounds, and already on 1,200 calories. You give her a break from that, the really low calorie dieting, and you know, and she's already doing a high amount of work. So maybe you change the nature of the work she's doing and change her goal for a little bit. So even if she goes back to the same calories, you know, she has improved her ability to drop body fat because she does more work, or she might be carrying, you know, more muscle or whatever, but you made her a more fit person so she can work harder, you know. Anyway, so there's a lot of reasons why you guys should use it, you know, to help you get what you want. All right, so with that being said, get back to that lady. Okay, here's an example. What is she? 1,200 calories a day, 29% body fat, or actually even better. Let's forget that. All right, so you have your lady at, let's say she weighs 220, 40% body fat. That means she's carrying roughly 88 pounds of fat. All right, and her lean body mass is somewhere around 132, give or take. All right, the guy, you know, he's 30%, you know, 30% body fat, you know, weighs 250, you know, so 30% body fat, so he's carrying about 75 pounds of fat, you know. A lot of times when I talk to people like that, you would say, okay, well, your lean body mass is 132, so maybe somewhere between 150 and 160, you know, is a good end all goal for you. And one of the first things they say, oh my gosh, I haven't been that skinny. I would be really skinny at that. It's like, well, no, you're really skinny now. You just have a lot of body fat, you know, making you bigger. So that's something to think about, you know, not to be really harsh with it. So that could be someone that's like, okay, I don't want to be that skinny. I want to gain muscle. Or, you know, I gave an example in another video, if you guys need that full drawn out example, where a client, she wanted to look like a well-known physique competitor or fitness model or whatever. And that person has a lot more muscle and much less body fat. So seeing that you can't do everything at the same time, you know. All right, so seeing that you can't achieve all those goals at the same time, you want to break them up into periods that you focus on it. And also, I'll give you another deal there. Okay, so one of the things that you want to think about, or you want to keep in mind when you're thinking about periodization or changing your workouts, or even the need to change your workouts, you got to understand, you know, when you're looking at ways to build muscle, there's two different ways. You got, you know, mechanical stress. So think of mechanical stress is taking lighter weights or light weights, and you know, and you're doing a whole lot of work with very little rest. Okay, what that does is, you know, your course, it builds hydrogen ions, lactic acid, things like that. So what happens with that? You're basically cutting off oxygen to the muscle. That's the Reader's Digest version. You're cutting off oxygen, you know, to the muscle that it needs to do what it has to do. Okay, so those muscles can't properly contract or can't perform the work that it needs to do. All right, so you end up having to recruit more muscle to do the job. Same thing happens, more muscle to do the job. Okay, so when you're applying that concept, that's fine, but that's kind of more of an endurance deal there. So eventually you're going to have to go longer and longer and longer to create that same effect, that same endurance effect, which you're going to get away from your strength and things like that, and you're going to build your ability to go longer instead of keeping the focus on building muscle. All right, so that's one, and that's the danger with using that one forever. If you use the other way to build muscle, which is mechanical stress, and you're just lifting, nice big heavy weights or heavier weights or rep range appropriate weights, that's fine too. But eventually you're not necessarily building strength that way unless you're a beginner or you're new to that exercise or something like that. So that's fine, and you'll build muscle, but then eventually your ability to build muscle will be compromised, okay? So, and the funny thing with that, when you're looking at building muscle, and then also those two ways to burn fat are also kind of similar. You can work longer, extend your sets longer, or you can shorten your rest, making you have to recover faster. That's why the fat loss also kind of coincides with muscular endurance, okay? Those two ways are also help build mechanical stress. Can be used to help build mechanical stress or increase mechanical stress, which would help you build muscle. All right. So whichever one of those, like I mentioned earlier with the adaptation thing, is you're going to adapt to it. And so if you adapt to it, you need to change it to help you facilitate that. All right. You can throw strength in the mix, which, okay, you can, there's strength and power. But anyway, if you just improve strength, you improve your ability to do work. So you would improve your ability to build muscle because you use more weights. You improve your ability to burn fat because you're using more weights to burn more fat. So you create more work, or your endurance would go at the same workload because will be better at the same workload because your system is taxed less. So you kind of see how these kind of all coincide and help each other. All right. So the thing is also with women and burning fat and building muscle, they use one way because they're better suited toward endurance activities, so that mechanical stress way, lighter weight, body pump type of stuff, where they're just using that lightweight and just working hard, working long with very, very little rest, you adapt to it, okay? But they use that because that's within their comfort zone because they're good at endurance type of activities. And research supports this. This isn't me, this is research, okay, outside of what women use, okay? The women use part, okay, that's partially me, but the what their strengths are, that's research. Men are better suited towards strength and power and things like that. So they're going to use that, those muscular tension ways, because that keeps them within their comfort zone. A lot of them, having to use a lighter weight or having to reduce the weight because, fatigue sets in, that is not what they prefer to do. That is not what they prefer to do. So, that takes them out of their comfort zone. So they tend to use one way to do that, to achieve those things instead of mixing them, to help them facilitate getting what they want, achieving what they want to achieve. So with those two different ways to do things, you can you can mix those up or plan to mix those up. You could use an undulating periodization, which there's research that goes back to 2002 where non-recreational lifters, they did it with athletes, they did it with people who have a little history of working out. Once you get into recreational athletes and beginning athletes, that's a good way to make any study look foul because, you're taking someone that's basically Homer Simpson sitting on the couch, doing nothing, and you're making them active. So you can play Wii tennis, and then all of a sudden they notice that their lean body mass comes up, and you're trying to use that to compare if methods work or not. So it's not really wise to use them. But anyway, with that being said, they used, a more athletic population or more experienced population worth it. And they did undulating periodization, and that allowed them to make better progress. Actually, any type conjugate method of periodization, all types of periodization, it produced greater results than just someone who just does the same thing time after time after time, month in and month out, week in, week out. So that's another good reason to use that. But with you can set up a model here where, okay, I'm looking at, let's say you got a lady who's 220, and that lady that's 220, and she says, okay, well, at this goal weight of 150, 160, I'm carrying too, I'll be too skinny. Then it's like, well, no, you can build muscle along the way. You can pick certain times during the year and build muscle. Same thing for the guy at 250. You could pick certain points and try to build muscle, and maybe give yourself a break from low calorie dieting, or maybe raise your calories to build some muscle and establish a new what do they call that, a new a set calorie point. I'm trying to use it on some, whatever your maintenance calories are, you can change that by building muscle, and then go back to fat loss and use that new point as your starting point, as opposed to lady I gave earlier with the 1,200 calorie example. Her set point is 1,200. So what's she gonna do? She gonna cut out calories to 900 with all that work? It's a recipe for disaster. All right. So let's say it's now it's spring. We're sitting here in this basically we're 1 week away from April, or a few days away from April, and now it's okay. I need to look good for pool parties or going to the lake, river, whatever. I'm going to be wearing less clothes. I can't hide in big bulky jackets and sweatshirts and sweats. I need to dress appropriately so I'll be comfortable. So, you begin your fat loss, and maybe you can begin your fat loss by shorter rest, and then maybe go to longer work first, and then, same work with shorter rest. All right. And you're alternating between the two if you're undulating, and you work those ways out, through the summer, and you get to, let's say we're now in mid-September, okay? So maybe now you would flip it, and you would say, okay, I'm going to use one of the ways, the longer work way to burn fat, and the metabolic stress, because you're creating the same sort of phenomena, to build muscle, so you're doing that, and then maybe, after that, you're getting into where it's cold and you're going to be able to hide yourself in clothes again. Maybe now you try to build muscle the muscular tension way, or maybe, the muscular tension way, or maybe that's the time where you try to improve your strength and gain muscle. So maybe for a bit, it's improve your strength 1 week, gain muscle with lower reps, 6 to 8 reps ish, and you're going that, maybe you're alternating between those two, for the weeks. After that, let's say mid-October or early November, now you're wearing less clothes. Now maybe now you can raise your calories to help you facilitate that muscle gains, because if your body fat comes up a little bit, and you don't want it to come up much, but maybe it comes up a little bit, with your muscle gain, and nobody will be able to see it because you're dressed warmly, you know what I mean? So you can work that out, and then maybe you go through that for a few months, and then let's say, okay, what's my goal? All right, how many, am I 15 pounds out from my goal? Okay, so maybe April 1st or Memorial Day or whatever it is, I need to count back 15 weeks. And from that 15 weeks, I need to start trying to get lean again, so I can lose my pound a week or 2 pounds a week or whatever it is, to get to my 1 to 2 pounds a week to get to my goal. So, then maybe you start cutting your fat loss then, and then, your muscle building then, and your strength building, muscle and strength building then, and then you start to cycle the ways that you're using fat loss again, that you're trying to achieve fat loss again. So you're creating this system where you can be, you can be the leanest when you need to be the leanest. You can give yourself diet breaks, during the holidays and things like that, but then also use that at a time where you can build muscle. If it gets too much, you can always throw a little fat loss phase in there, to keep you from going too far, But you can give yourself a fat loss break, and by increasing strength and building muscle, you can improve your ability to do work. So the next time around, when you start this cycle over, you've improved your fitness, you've improved your ability to do work, so you can even work harder at fat loss and still probably make progress if you try to go through this again the next year. So that's kind of the system that you're setting up to look the best when you want to look your best, give yourself a break when you might need a break, and contribute to you having a higher level of fitness. So with all that being said, if you need me to make a model, a diagram of all this, leave me a message below, or message me. If you need it to look pretty, now I warn you, if you need it to look pretty, it's going to take me longer, because I don't have those type of skills. Like, those skills are not my strengths, even though I can do them. They're not strengths of mine. So if you need to make me look pretty, just be prepared for it to take me an extra week or two to get around to that. But I'll do that. I have programs on my site for like $9 a month that already do that, and some of them are even 8 months long. So you can almost complete this whole cycle like that. So just let me know, and I'll put it up. I'll put it up and put up a post and share it with you guys.